there's this really incredible story about how debt collectors are really going to extreme limits to collect debt from people. And now hospitals are teaming up with debt collectors in order to collect money that people owe for medical procedures. So I honestly couldn't believe that this was happening, but since emergency rooms have to take people in, even people who can't afford the care, a lot of times these hospitals have 5.6% of their total expenses going toward these emergency room visits, right? So they're trying to find ways to get people to pay their debts, pay for these medical procedures. And they're having these debt collectors come in and literally ask people who come into the emergency room for all of their financial information prior to getting any type of treatment. And there are for-profit hospitals that will charge a $150 fee prior to even seeing anyone in an emergency room. And these hospitals are known as HCA. So, Steve, I actually want you to talk about the legality of this.
Well, it's totally legal. What's happening is that the hospitals have these debt collectors collecting your personal information when you come in, but you don't know that they're debt collectors. You think they're hospital staff. So you're like, okay, well, you're hospital staff, let me tell you everything I know. And then turns out, whoops, they're debt collectors, and now they have all your personal information, they know how to get a hold of you, they know where you live, and then they harass you until you pay, or until you can pay some of it. Now, the easy thing to say here is these are, the debt collectors are bad people, bad, shame on you. But this is a more complicated problem. These hospitals last year had to write off nearly $40 billion in unpaid bills. Medicare payments keep shrinking. The cost of medical care keeps rising. People are getting less care. And as you mentioned, people have to sometimes pay money at emergency rooms, and they can't afford it, so they're turned away. We need real healthcare reform. Real healthcare reform. And what we have right now under Obamacare is a very small version of what we really need that was tried in Massachusetts under Mitt Romney, that was originally a plan backed by the Heritage Foundation, which is a Republican right-wing group. And of course, now we call Obamacare instead of the Affordable Health Care Act, and is labeled as being something that's going to bring down our democracy. The whole thing is a complete joke. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that people on the right are demonizing this to the extent that they are. It's unbelievable that the people on the left, call this historic reform.
Right.
It's neither. Freaking Band-Aid on a massively larger problem that's gonna really, I don't know, bring down our democracy in some ways.
You keep depriving the people of things that they deserve, because as I'll say over and over again, everyone pays into the system. So when they say you're handing things out, no one has handed anything. You paid into it at some point in your life, plenty, believe me. So when you keep them deprived and you give them just a bit of the rights that they deserve. Like, oh my God, thinking this is awesome. Oh my God,
You're totally right about that.
If you let me walk.
Because healthcare reform, I feel like sometimes we belittle it a little too much. It definitely didn't give us what we needed to reform healthcare in this country, but there are certain elements of it that are extremely important.
I agree that sometimes we don't give this act enough credit. There are a lot of good things with it, and I also don't think that you necessarily need change overnight, that this is something that we do today, we do 5 years from now, some more 10 years from now, and over a long period of time, we get the reform that we want. However, don't call it historic reform. It's not historic. Was it historic when Mitt Romney did it in Massachusetts? Where people were progressives on the streets proclaiming it to be historic and amazing. I can't believe Mitt Romney, our Republican governor, brought this for us. This is historic. Let's celebrate. They didn't do that because it's not worthy of that. So let's not do it now because our guy did it. Okay? Let's wait for real historic reform and then celebrate and keep fighting for more and more reform.